Imagine you just caught a seal and a caribou on the same day. You're hungry, your family is waiting, and you have more food than you've had in weeks. But you can't eat them together. Not because of preference, not because of taste, because mixing them would break one of the oldest food laws on Earth, one that has governed life in the Arctic for thousands of years. Sounds extreme, right? But here's what shocked me. This rule isn't just cultural tradition. It runs so deep that Inuit elders say breaking it doesn't just offend, it disturbs the balance between the living and the dead. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal is going to completely change how you think about food, survival, and what ancient wisdom actually looks like. To understand this, you have to forget everything you think you know about food rules, because most of us grew up thinking food laws were about religion or hygiene or just preference. The Inuit rule is something entirely different. It's a law written by the Arctic itself. The Inuit have lived above the tree line in Alaska, Canada, and Greenland for at least 4,000 years. And when you live in a place where temperatures drop to -50 degrees, where the sun disappears for months, and where one bad hunting season can mean death, you learn very quickly that survival is not just physical, it's spiritual, it's relational. It's about maintaining trust with the animals that keep you alive. And that's exactly where this law begins. The Inuit worldview holds that every animal has a soul, what they call an inua. The seal, the walrus, the bowhead whale, they carry one kind of spirit. The caribou, the muskox, the land animals, they carry another. These two worlds, the sea and the land, are not just different ecosystems, they are different realms. And mixing them at the wrong time, in the wrong way, is believed to insult both. Now here's where it gets genuinely fascinating. The specific rule, and it varies somewhat between communities, is that you cannot eat sea mammal meat and land mammal meat on the same day. Some communities extend it further. You cannot sew a sealskin garment and a caribou hide in the same space. You cannot bring tools used on sea animals into a space where land animals are being prepared. In some traditions, a woman who had recently given birth could not eat certain foods at all for a period because her state created a spiritual boundary that had to be respected. This is crazy. These aren't vague suggestions passed down loosely. These were enforced rules, remembered by name, taught to children as early as they could understand language. Because the Inuit believed that if you broke this separation, the animals would know. And if the animals knew, they would stop giving themselves to be hunted. Think about what that means in practical terms. In the Arctic, you don't go to a grocery store. You don't have a backup plan. If the seals stop coming, you starve. If the caribou herds shift away from your territory, your family dies. The animals are not just food, they are partners, and the law of separation is, at its core, a way of showing those partners respect. Now, I want you to really sit with that for a second, because we live in a world where we've completely separated the act of eating from the act of relationship. We don't know the animal, we don't thank it, we don't maintain any spiritual contract with the source of our food. For the Inuit, that disconnect would have been unthinkable. And honestly, when you look at it that way, it doesn't sound ancient and strange. It sounds like something we lost. But that's not even the most surprising part. What makes this law even more remarkable is that it's also practical in ways that only recent science has started to catch up to. Sea mammals like seals and walruses are extremely high in fat, specifically omega-3 fatty acids and a type of fat called muktuk, which is raw whale skin and blubber. This fat is crucial for surviving Arctic winters. It stores slow-release energy, protects organs from cold, and provides nutrients you simply cannot get from land animals alone. Land animals like caribou, on the other hand, are lean, high-protein, lower-fat, rich in different micronutrients, vitamins, minerals that complement the sea diet. Eating them separately across seasons and occasions wasn't just spiritual discipline, it was a nutritional strategy that kept the human body functioning at its absolute limit. The Inuit traditionally had almost no access to plant-based foods. No grains, no legumes, no fruit except for brief summer periods. Their entire nutritional profile came from animals. And the way they managed that, including rules about what to eat when, meant they could survive on a diet that would cause scurvy, vitamin deficiency, and organ failure in most other humans. If you want to understand why this matters, think about it this way. A culture that was purely superstitious would have developed rules that made survival harder, but the Inuit developed rules that made survival possible. The spiritual framework and the practical reality evolved together over thousands of years, shaping each other until they became inseparable. And here's something that most people completely miss. When Western contact began to erode these food traditions in the 19th and 20th centuries, when Inuit communities were introduced to processed foods, canned goods, sugar, the health consequences were catastrophic. Rates of diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease skyrocketed in communities that had been extraordinarily healthy for millennia. Because the system worked. The whole system. The spiritual rules, the seasonal eating, the separation of sea and land. It was a complete operating manual for the human body in one of the harshest environments on Earth. And it was written not in a book, but in practice, in memory, in law. Now, if you find yourself genuinely fascinated by how ancient food cultures hide extraordinary wisdom, hit subscribe, because this channel exists exactly for this reason, and there is so much more where this came from. So what does this rule actually look like in a real Inuit household? Imagine it's late autumn in the Canadian Arctic. A hunter has just returned from the coast with a ringed seal. His brother comes back the same evening from inland with a caribou. In a traditional home, those two meals would not be prepared together. The seal would be handled first, or the caribou, never simultaneously. Tools used to butcher the seal would be cleaned and put away before caribou work began. So, the women managing the food would know exactly which containers, which cutting surfaces, which spaces belonged to each realm. And this knowledge wasn't written down anywhere. It lived in the hands, in the habits, in the everyday rhythm of life. That's one of the most remarkable things about this. Some of the most sophisticated ecological and nutritional wisdom in human history was transmitted without a single written word. It survived through story, through practice, through a child watching their parent and understanding without being told. This is how we honor what feeds us. This is why certain Inuit elders today speak about the erosion of these traditions not just with sadness, but with alarm, because they understand, in a way that nutritional science is only beginning to verify, that these rules weren't arbitrary. They were load-bearing walls. Remove them, and the whole structure starts to fall. And yet, here's the contradiction that I keep thinking about. In a world where we're constantly trying to optimize our diets, counting macros, tracking micronutrients, downloading apps to tell us what to eat, a group of people thousands of years ago had already solved it without a single spreadsheet. Just deep, ancient attention to the world around them. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The Inuit law of separating sea and land food is not a superstition. It's a survival system, spiritual and practical at the same time, built over thousands of years of paying extremely close attention to what keeps humans alive. It worked. And the fact that it's framed as a spiritual law might actually be the smartest thing about it, because laws you believe in, you follow. And now I want to hear from you. Is there a food rule from your own culture, something your family does or doesn't eat together that you never fully understood until now? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. If this video gave you something to think about, like it, share it, and subscribe so you never miss what we uncover next. I'll see you in the next one.